Good to go. Let's check it all out. All right. All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Chaos. My name is Captain America. That is the Brawny Man. And the stock market is crazy and chaotic. We made it our mission to help you guys own it. Happy Halloween, everybody. Fat Man Zoom. How about we hit him off with the starting five?
Yes, sir. We got Alan 316, Funny Pranks Gone Wrong, Nate, Zeke for Bleak, Belay, and Philip Stroh. You guys are our starting five. Welcome to Stock Watch Sunday, everybody's favorite day of the week, everybody's favorite piece of content. We got so much going on today. Sometimes we struggle for topics. We have no shortage of topics, Brad.
No.
We're going to start throwing in crypto, so we're going to check out the crypto market and maybe touch on that a little bit. I've got some headlines, some rapid fire questions for Brad that we're going to go through and discuss, but there's so much news that came out this weekend. We just can't wait to discuss that. And then lastly, and most importantly, we have earnings. If you were here last week, similarly, we're going to go over earnings. This is, I would say, speculative week. So we had big tech last week.
Yeah.
We have some big earnings, and we got a big dog everybody's waiting for to talk about this week. So guys, hit that thumbs up. Don't waste any time as we get into the show, but I'm excited for today.
I'm pumped. I'm pumped for the whole week.
Yeah. I think, obviously the last 2 weeks, it's a better world when we have earnings in general.
Yeah.
And so obviously, I'm going to spare everybody. We're going to talk a lot about Penn, but we got Penn later this week. So make sure you guys stay tuned. If you haven't been here before, this is On the Chaos. We are live every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. And also we're live every Monday through Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. So anything you hear here, we will also discuss during the week when we do our earnings reactions, and just talk about what's actually going on during the market. So, regardless, how's your day going?
Great, man. I've had a great day, great weekend, and I'm just super pumped. I wore my Ravens jersey last weekend.
Yeah.
After the Ravens got torched.
Yeah.
By the Bengals, and then the Bengals lose to the Jets this week.
Yeah.
To a no-name quarterback.
That's how it works, man.
It's the NFL, man. It's just wild. I saw that score. I was like, what the hell? Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, my man dropped 400 yards.
Yeah.
They had no idea who he was.
No.
Western Kentucky. Yeah, so it was, I kind of watched football in the background, but apparently I just looked on ESPN.com. Brady threw a pick six just now. It's a tight game between the Bucs and the Saints.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he just threw a pick six. So that one's going to go down to the wire.
Yeah. And I think the Patriots might be good.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
They won again.
We'll see.
Against
Who'd they play?
The Chargers, and they killed them.
Are the Chargers that good?
I think Justin Herbert's that good. I don't know about the Chargers defense.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're that good. Yeah, obviously early on, like, we didn't know who the Chiefs were, and it looks like the Chiefs aren't as good as we thought. And I think that was playing into it a little bit. Like, everybody was so surprised about the Chargers. I haven't seen Justin Herbert really. I haven't seen enough of a sample size to actually make sort of a judgment on him. I know people were really talking about him, even potentially in the MVP race. So I need to watch more of him.
Yeah.
To get an idea, but
Chargers defense is terrible. And I think also, if you're Justin Herbert, the games that you've lost have been against really good coaching though too. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. But anyways, let's jump right in. I wanted to, as I pull this up, I'm really excited for these questions, but let's first just kind of talk about crypto. You're now officially in crypto.
Yes.
You're in Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
I'm in Bitcoin and Ethereum. Are you in anything else?
Nothing else.
Okay.
I was actually thinking about buying some SHIB. Just on a flyer, because it's pulled back enough to where I could constitute actually getting in. Yeah.
So why don't you pull up, let's check in Bitcoin, Ethereum.
Yeah.
Can you pull up SHIB on Webull?
Uh-huh. You can buy it on Webull now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's the daily chart of what it looks like. Obviously, has gone crazy It's at quadruple 067. However you want to say that. I mean, when I was trading penny stocks, we always called triple zeros, but we never got the 4. So it's a very tiny number right now. And so it's pulled back. It went all the way up to the 8s, and now it's come back down to the 6s. It looks like a potentially reasonable area to where I would say might be a decent buy if you guys are in a gambling mood.
Yeah, I mean, throw money at it. Who cares?
Yeah,
I got
it's so cheap. Like what the hell? Throw a couple $100 and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm actually I do believe that Doge has more life left in it, and it's been moving up recently.
Yeah,
but I think it has another massive move into it, and the only reason I say that is because you remember a few months back, Elon had mentioned that he was working with Doge miners on he was kind of vague about it, but it was like a project. So it doesn't matter what he does, but if he actually comes out with something, that's all it needs.
Yeah.
So I'd probably, if you want to go in one, I'll go in on one with you. SHIB seems like the obvious one because there's going to be some short-term hype.
Yeah.
Make a little bit of money in and out. But I almost want to do, if I'm going to do speculative and I can only pick one, I'm tempted to do Doge.
I mean, if you do Doge, I'll do SHIB. Or vice versa, whatever. But it seems like you're leaning towards Doge.
I don't know. Because you're talking about quadruples. It's just, SHIB's going to continue to get people just jumping in.
Oh, I know. I just meant like from a money-making standpoint. I think, obviously Doge has been moving up and actually had a really monster day one day last week, I think Thursday.
Yeah.
And so yeah, definitely getting some more attention for sure.
Alan said, I need to fund my Coinbase account again.
Yes.
Well, we'll also be talking about Coinbase in general because they have earnings this week. Yeah. What about Bitcoin and Ethereum?
Bitcoin right now is just flat today. And it's kind of been just chilling out ever since it hit all-time highs, had a little bit of a pullback, and it's just been chilling. I think a lot of this was obviously in response to that futures ETF. That's kind of what kickstarted this over the last few weeks. So, I think that we could potentially just kind of see this flatten out until the next move. Whatever that catalyst is, your guess is as good as mine, but I think it's just going to kind of hang out up here for the next move up, potentially.
How much does inflation play into, in your opinion, into the move for Bitcoin?
That's a great question because everybody who's at least, and I am no expert in Bitcoin, but everybody talks about Bitcoin as if it's a hedge against inflation when it hasn't been.
Yeah.
It moves with the market.
Yeah.
So how do we determine that that's actually an inflation hedge? Because it doesn't appear to be, from the optics anyway. So, maybe you can make the argument that it is longer term. It's been outperforming the market 200 to 300% every single year since its existence. So maybe you're just in it because of that. It's outperforming the market. But as a hedge against inflation, I really have a hard time understanding why that actually is. Yeah.
That's what I was wondering because maybe over time it does that. And maybe it's just run so much that it hasn't, gold settles out. And so gold kind of, gold isn't going to have the runs that Bitcoin's going to have. Maybe at some point we get there. But yeah, I've kind of that's been on my mind. I've been meaning to ask you, but I just haven't seen it either. And I'm just wondering when we sort of get those indicators on what actually will move. Me personally, I think we're going to start getting the headlines again about institutional investing in Bitcoin. And I think that's sort of the next catalyst that moves it up. And then the headwind would potentially be any regulation issues. We had, the China news and sort of how they're putting pressure on crypto in general and kind of trying to get that all out in general. But I don't know. It remains to be seen and it's anybody's guess and it can go either way. I will say we talk about the metaverse. We talk about sort of, moving digitally for everything and how this is the new normal. Ethereum still is so under the radar and I love it for that because I'm just continually wanting to add to Ethereum and continue to load up on Ethereum because it gets love, don't get me wrong, but it definitely is talked about far less than anything else. But I just feel really good about where I am with that.
I think moving forward, we've talked about adding to things like Apple and sure investments for the future. I think this is just going to continue to become something for me where I'm just going to once a month dedicate a certain amount of money that I'm putting in for Bitcoin and Ethereum. And that's just how I treated it. I'm not going to, it's going to be my long-term investments. It's not going to be anything that I try to like take a gamble on or anything else. It's just another source for investing in.
Yeah, Mr. DeSoto says there will be only 21 million Bitcoin ever. Yeah, that's the scarcity model. That's sort of that's the talking point for people who buy Bitcoin. We'll talk about it more in the future. I don't want to talk too much about this, but guys, appreciate your comments, especially today. Throw questions you have in the comment sections as far as earnings. Keep it relevant to this week, but I definitely, it's been working out, taking questions from you guys, engaging in the conversation. If you have comments, questions, more likely that it'll get shouted out if you're talking about the topic at hand. And the topic at hand is earnings this week, any sort of relevant news that's happening this week. So I'm going to switch it around a little bit.
Okay.
We're going to talk about, they're kind of rapid fire questions, but they deal with headlines that have come out. All right. So we're going to start with Amazon and Rivian. So Amazon, it was just revealed through a filing that Amazon has 20% stake in Rivian.
Yes.
Okay. So there's the electrical car company. So Rivian should be going public by the end of the year. The date's not official, but by the end of the year or beginning of next year, they'll become public. But let's talk about Amazon first. They had a $1.3 billion investment that is now valued at nearly $4 billion. Great investment. And Amazon has contracted Rivian to produce 100,000 vehicles by 2030, 10,000 of which should be delivered by the end of or are slated to be delivered by the end of next year. Barring timelines or whatever, I don't want to get into all that, but tremendous order.
Yeah.
Seems like a smart move for Amazon. You need vehicles. Why not have stake in a company that can make vehicles for you? And they'll have first right of refusal for 5 years. All right. So given all that, how does that impact your sentiments towards Amazon, which are already bullish, but they had a tough earnings. Actually, they had a really disappointing earnings.
Yeah.
How does that news impact your feelings towards Amazon?
I think that I've been talking about this well before you came on the channel. I want to say maybe 3-4 years ago. It was when Amazon really started to ramp up their parcel delivery service side of things. And I was like, this is, to me, feels like it's the beginning of the end for things like UPS and FedEx. And I'm not saying that it's happening anytime soon, but let's just look out 25, 30 years from now. What does a parcel delivery services look like? And how big is UPS and FedEx, a lifetime from now or a generation from now? And I think that it's going to look a lot different. And Amazon's already making strides to do that. And this Rivian instance is just another one of those. And I think that they also have orders with Workhorse, if I'm not mistaken. I have to back that up. And
Amazon does?
Yeah.
I think you might be correct.
Workhorse, I think they're trying to work their way into as well. And a couple of other EVs. Ford, I'm sure, is also on the docket for them. So this, I think, to me, is just another step for them to get rid of any kind of third-party delivery service. That includes the post office. That includes UPS, FedEx, any of those other ones that they end up leveraging so that it's all done in-house. And it's just going to make them more efficient. It's going to make things cost a little bit less for them as far as shipping is concerned. So I think it's a good move.
There's other couple things to keep in mind, and I want to point this out. I'm glad you brought up Ford. Ford also has a 5% stake in Rivian as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So just keep that in mind, people, because I'm not sure how that plays. That's interesting.
It is.
Maybe it's a hedge. I don't know. But that's something just to keep on the back of your mind. But bringing this up, the other thing I would just quickly say about Amazon is you talk about UPS experience, or sorry, the UPS experience and really the post office experience isn't a great experience. You talk about companies that disrupt, it's usually pain points. They're not great experiences in general. So they do have the ability to really, Amazon, that's why it's been successful.
Yeah.
And to your point, I think it will see continued success. The other thing to consider for Rivian, which this is probably a bigger deal for Rivian, that they have Amazon in their corner. Think about the partnerships they could get in the future just by access you get from Amazon.
Yeah.
We talked about this with Affirm. name recognition, partner recognition. If it's called the Jones effect. If you could just drop a couple names, hey, we've got Ford that believes in us. We've got Amazon that believes in us. You can get anybody after you get those guys, right?
Yeah.
So you've got a car company who you would imagine has done their due diligence, has said, yeah, we're invested 5%. Like, what did they see? That's a question going in my mind. And so the last question I have regarding this topic is, so Rivian goes public by year's end. Are you more bullish on Rivian or Lucid, knowing now what you know about the investment from these larger companies?
For me, it's not so much about the investment. It's just the company in general. And I would say that I'm probably more bullish on Rivian, only because Lucid is going to be fine. They've already made a crazy ass move and the valuation doesn't make any sense. You can make the argument for Tesla as well. But here's the thing, Rivian and the model or the area, the industry they're going after when it comes to trucks, work trucks, panel trucks, all that stuff is going to be, I think, much more lucrative than Lucid will be, at least in the short term. And I mean, Lucid sells ridiculously expensive vehicles. I think they're going to eventually be categorized maybe in the, I don't know, Mercedes, or you could even put them in the like a Ferrari type of category, just because they cost so damn much.
Yeah.
And so the demographic that they're reaching is much smaller than something like a Tesla, for example, which, by the way, I think that Tesla could have made a little bit of a misstep by not going after the commercial side of things. And maybe that's going to be in their plan. But the fact of the matter is that when we're seeing companies like Workhorse and even Ford with the Lightning, that could also play into that work truck category, that could be an area of the market that they may miss out
on. Next topic is American Airlines. American Airlines cancels more than 1,400 flights due to weather, staffing. We've seen this with obviously Southwest, but this has been sort of a common trend. And I just want to check back in, like, could airlines be in a tougher predicament than we initially thought?
Yeah. So this, to me, and I have Southwest calls that expire in December, and I was hoping that they would be able to work all this stuff out, but it looks like it's continuing to be a problem. My initial thesis was that demand was going to more than make up for some of the issues that we were having, but it turns out that demand's actually causing a lot of these issues. I was optimistic that the airline companies, American Airlines, Southwest, all of them were going to work through this and figure it all out, but they're just not at this point, and I'm not quite sure when that's going to happen. So I am a little bit nervous about my position in Southwest. And I know that you have Delta still, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So, I mean, I think it could be a bit turbulent, guess is the word.
Real quick, checking in on the chat. A couple comments. Ford and Lucid, I think they'll be good long-term. Stocks are cheap, says Mad Dix. JB Smith says, I'll be in Rivian this year. Already full position in Lucid. Also, Mad Dix also said, Lucid, they're talking as Ferrari of EVs, talking about valuation. Tesla is incredibly high. Yeah, that's been the story for Tesla for like 2 years now.
Yeah. Forever.
Yeah. And JB says he's out of airlines and cruise lines. He'll be out of it.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of cruise lines, we'll get into that, but Norwegian has earnings this week. So that'll certainly be interesting to see how that all plays out as well, because they're going to have the same problem as the airlines. The staffing issues is really where it's at right now. Yeah.
So another issue that's been big in the market in general has been the supply chain issue.
Yeah.
I want to talk about G20 summit. Biden brought up clearly, like, one of his main agenda topics was the global supply chain, global commerce, and really just a cooperative effort for other international leaders to address this. We saw this with the ports in on the West Coast and how it was 24/7. Like, clearly this is a huge agenda item, which it should be. And I would say, independent of your feelings towards it, like, it's clear that he's trying to address that, and he understands that if it doesn't get addressed, what it means. So I think it's the right move in general to go at it. But he's hell-bent on doing whatever he can to relieve this backlog. And as far as you're concerned, are you optimistic about the ability of the world leaders to actually address this issue? Like, do you think they'll be able to address it? And the second part of that question is, if they are, where would you be looking? Who are the key beneficiaries to benefit from this as far as like investing in stocks?
Yeah. I think that I don't know if necessarily I have a whole lot of faith in the world leaders necessarily, but I think the problem will get itself figured out. Um, you know, they don't have a choice. This has to be a priority for everybody involved. And so I think that it will get itself sorted out. And I've been saying for a while that it's going to be a temporary issue as painful as it is. And I think the worst of it is actually over and done with. To your point, as far as, having the ports run 24/7, which I don't know why they weren't run 24/7 beforehand when this issue, started to actually come about. So, I think that's going to work itself out. As far as who benefits from this, some of the companies that have suffered because of that or have and I think Amazon is the perfect example of this, is of the issues that they're having as far as the supply chain is concerned. Amazon's a huge one. Any of the major retailers, you look at Shopify and how that reacted to earnings and what their outlook was and that sort of thing. Any of those retail companies that may express some issues that they're having as far as getting raw materials in and all that good stuff, those are going to be the ones that I probably would go after. And we have a couple of them reporting this week, so we'll see how they do.
Last topic before we actually get into the earnings conversation is the metaverse. Facebook to be on December 1st renamed to Meta in reference to the metaverse, released a document. It was a 50-page document that was back in June of 2018. The Oculus exec, what is his name? His name was Jason Rubin. He sent an email basically giving the case for metaverse, and it set the stage for where we are now, and it's pretty impressive. I would encourage anybody who's interested in the metaverse, what they're thinking about. This is the framework that was laid back then that now shows clearly whether you're convinced now or before or not. Now you should be, because basically he said a couple things. There's a lot in there, but a couple things that stand out is, he basically said, if we're going to do this, we have to be all in. We can't half step it. Whoever wins this metaverse race, is like, you just got to be bold. You got to take risks, which I'm a big fan of. And that led to their 2020 acquisitions, and I think leads to more acquisitions. But the more I thought about it, he actually painted the picture of like how it would look, like your avatar and walking through. Apparently, I almost envisioned it. He didn't say this, but how I envisioned it was like a Times Square where you go in and there's like a Meta or a Facebook like main building. It's like the biggest building. And he talked about like Coca-Cola could have billboards on there, or Comcast could advertise about internet speed or whatever. You could see shops in there. So now we start thinking about Facebook Marketplace, right?
Yeah.
Like, could you walk into a Facebook Marketplace that is essentially a market and it has different stores? Like, right? You start thinking about where this can go. For me, it gets me really excited because I think it makes sense. He talked also about virtual reality and the Oculus, which is a huge piece. And I'll be honest, and I want your feedback on this if you feel the same way. People have struggled with virtual reality.
Yes.
And it seems like they're the first ones that actually have gotten some traction. They seem to see success in it, but I think they said it was like, by the time the metaverse is out, like 5-10 years from now, we could be selling 100 million of these Oculus devices, which is wild, and a whole nother revenue stream as a part of the metaverse. And then they get ad revenue, that there's going to be ad spends in there. As far as that's concerned, like, and by the way, he also mentioned originally they were going to go at it alone, but they're going to partner with the likes of Roblox, which I think is a smart move, finding the partners. But he said whoever gets it first wins it, because everybody else that joins, like, it's too many people are going to be involved for it to shift to a different metaverse. So whoever wins it, what are your, like, how much money do you think could really be in this metaverse? And I don't need a dollar amount, but do you think Facebook could win this?
I think they have the money to be able to win it.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a company out there that has a purse the size that Facebook does, to beat them, give me the name, because I don't think there is one. So
Yeah.
they definitely have that going for them. I just am not sold on the whole metaverse thing just yet. I think the verdict's out for me personally. I don't know how they're going to be able to monetize it. And you brought up some interesting points as far as like ad spend within the metaverse itself and how all that may work. And it may very well do that. I'm still just not sure about it, because virtual reality has been around for a very long time, and it has been yet to really have been adopted like globally.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of definitely got me kind of wondering where this is headed. So
Yeah.
maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I just don't know where it's going at this point in time. Obviously, if Facebook sees the value here and they're going to dedicate the next 10 years to this and enough to change the name of their company to focus on this, it's a big deal. But I just don't know how widespread this is going to be adopted. And maybe that's an answer that a younger generation other than ourselves could shed some light on. I'm not sure.
Well, and one of the other things that he talked about was this is really their foray into online gaming. Metaverse is online gaming.
Yes.
And so it's essentially the next generation of SimCity. You're in it. You're
Right.
physically in it. So I think I would encourage you to try out an Oculus. Have you tried an Oculus yet?
Yeah, I've tried an Oculus. I was at Don Fran. I don't know. Oh, Don's not watching, but I was at Don Fran's doing it. And then our buddy Chris had his, and it's really cool. I just trying to figure out how it's going to make the same kind of money that like Facebook and the and Instagram. How is it going to?
Well, so I think that answer has been in front of us this whole time. And this is where we have to be objective. And if we're objective, we got to look at video games and we got to rewind the clock. And when video games were not free, right? And who was it? Wasn't Fortnite? Who was the company that was the first to give their game away for free?
It was Fortnite.
Was it Fortnite?
Yeah.
So there was another company. It was
Fortnite does give them. I don't know if they were the first, but I know that they did.
So let's just use Fortnite for example. If you're objective, I think you should conclude that if 10 years ago or 20 years ago, I would have said video games, number one, you aren't going to get these cartridges. And number two, if you would have went to any exec and been like, hey, we shouldn't sell video games, we should give them away for free, I think you would have been laughed. I think we would have sat here on Only Chaos 20 years ago and been like, that's the dumbest thing, that's never going to work. Well, what we realized was it was ingenious because they make so much. I don't think people understand how much Epic Games makes. Games makes stupid amount of money. And I've actually toured their facility in North Carolina. It's ridiculous. The technology is ridiculous. And I think that's a very similar draw as far as the metaverse is concerned, is that there is so much money into your virtual, like skins. If you were to try to explain skins, you'd be like, really? People are going to pay for that?
Yeah.
New hairstyle, all these clothes that you're wearing, rocking the streets. Like, it shows that there's demand there. And not to mention, when we think about digital commerce, gaming leans more towards male. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah.
And there are females that game, but it leads more towards male. This metaverse actually leads more towards female. And when you think about influencers, you think about online sales, you think about all that, when you get a hold of that demographic, you win. And so the upside of gaming, if they did that there, what is the upside of Metaverse or whoever wins that? So it's going to be really interesting to see. And if we're talking about 10 years out, again, there's a different conversation between, is Metaverse the right name, and should they change their name?
Yeah.
Like, those are two different conversations to be had. But you think about your point, 10 years from now, the people that they're targeting are going to be young people, not us. So why do you want to name it something that people are going to be like, that's our dad's or our grandfather's platform? So this is going to be all interesting, but I definitely encourage anybody to check that out.
I actually have one very important question.
Yeah.
What's your new name going to be?
Mama is stupid, by the way. That's really stupid.
It really is. It's
not going to stick.
That's the Jim Cramer acronym now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is stupid.
Is it Mama? Is that how he's going to pronounce it?
I guess, yeah.
It is really stupid. Honestly, he just should have kept it Fang and just called it a day.
Yeah. So I mean,
I'm not changing it. It's Fat Man Zoom.
Keeping it Fat Man Zoom.
It's a historical nod.
Yeah.
So the point isn't the stocks that are in it. The point is the sentiment. So yeah, I'm not changing it.
Okay.
Now that might change, but if you think about it, I don't need to add an M because I could just keep the M that's in there. So I could, we'll see. But no, I'm gonna keep it.
Fat Man Zoom.
Fat Man Zoom. Just I like it.
I mean, I like it too.
And guys, feel free to throw out any ideas. Not those ridiculous, stupid.
Could be Pat Man Zoom for Penn.
Could be Meta Zoom.
Yeah, it could be Meta Zoom. Yeah, maybe. I just never would have thought that we would have even had this discussion, that we would like Facebook was just going to be there forever and Fat Man Zoom would just stick.
Yeah, I know. Facebook teamed up with Matterport to create the Metaverse. Matterport reports on Wednesday. Could be nice earnings. Yeah. Listening from Raleigh, listening from Raleigh Airport on his way back to Austin.
Nice.
Safe travels. JB does not buy into Meta, but then again, I'm in my 30s and conservative. 44 All-Star said my son is playing virtual reality right now as we speak.
Yeah, Roblox, all that stuff.
All right, let's get into earnings.
Let's do it.
So we have earnings throughout the entire week. I would say I'm probably more excited about these earnings than last week because like big tech you anticipate beating.
Yeah.
And they have moves, but like we could see some fireworks this week. So I want to get into like where those opportunities are. I'm just going to let's run down day by day who we've got. So Monday we have Chegg, Clorox people are interested in. I'm going to ask you general questions afterwards. So just so we can get into those. Avis, Budget. Any of those stand out? Any of those you're interested in?
Not really. I think Monday is going to be kind of our boring day, but the rest of the week is going to be absolute fire.
Tuesday, pre-market, we have Pfizer, Corsair, BP, Under Armour. These are all good ones.
Yes.
ConocoPhillips, Marathon, Ferrari, if anybody cares. After Hours is kind of a letdown on Tuesday. Activision should be interesting. Zillow should be interesting. T-Mobile, maybe.
Yeah.
Those are the ones. What about Tuesday? Anything? I mean, obviously we have oil.
Yeah.
Energy indication. Anything that stands out there you really have your eye on?
I think it's safe to say that Under Armour is certainly one that we'll be keeping an eye on, with the retail side of things. This could be an indicator of the direction that Nike might be headed into. If Under Armour does well or they don't, we could kind of make the determination of where Nike may be headed. And I know that you just said if anybody cares as far as Ferrari is concerned, but I actually am interested to see how Ferrari does because we just actually witnessed, probably one of the biggest transfers of wealth in the last 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
And Ferrari's actually been on fire. So let's go ahead and take a look at the chart here on Ferrari. I'm going to pull this up. The ticker symbol is RACE. They've actually been doing really well. The stock continues to go up. It broke up over a crucial resistance last week. And I think maybe in response to some of the automakers that already came out with earnings, but they're at all-time highs. So they dropped 4% on Friday. Maybe there's an opportunity here for Ferrari if it comes back and settles down at 233 before the earnings on Tuesday, and could give you an opportunity because I think that there's actually an appetite for people who've got money now that want to go out and buy some Ferraris.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like it has a ton of volume though. Does that concern you at all?
It does not. Yeah. So this wouldn't be something that I would just try to get in and out of every day. But if you're looking for, a stock for that the rich people play in, this could be it.
Cool. Wednesday pre-market, CVS Health, Norwegian Cruise Line, Discovery. After Hours, we have Roku, Qualcomm, Skills. That was a different Marathon Oil. My bad. Marathon Oil's Wednesday after hours. Fastly, Etsy. See, that's a good day. What stands out to you there?
I think Roku and Etsy. Etsy, I think, is gonna. I mean, Etsy has already kind of taken a beating here. Obviously, they've kind of been lumped in with some of the other e-commerce plays. We already know the shortage issues that they've had, labor shortages and all that good stuff. But it's already moved up. I think that there's going to be a potential letdown here. I could be wrong. And they could surprise us and be like, guess what? We're the ones that aren't doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, and we're doing just fine. We look at the chart on Etsy, and this one is been on a monstrous move. Last week it hit all-time highs. It's still hovering above that or around that area. So that's going to be interesting. And then obviously there's Roku that's continually gotten beaten down. And actually, I think this one could be interesting, Fat Man Zoom. This has come down for $490 all the way down to $300, and it's actually touched below that last month. It's coming back down to potentially retest that 295 area. I think Roku actually ends up having a good quarter, and I think their outlook's going to be even better. If Netflix was any indication of what we're anticipating in the streaming services, Roku obviously benefits from all of those. And so I think that Roku could certainly be a good one to capitalize on, especially given how much this has been beaten down. I mean, we're talking 55% down from its 60% down from its highs, from its all-time highs.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it could have a good opportunity. Obviously, if it moves to the downside, it could be a world of pain, but like from an asymmetrical trade opportunity and just setting itself up, I don't think it's, we already know that advertising has been an issue. So I think that's probably already baked in. So I don't think anybody's going to be surprised if there's a little bit of slowdown of advertising spend. But that's for social companies that had to deal with Apple.
Right.
Roku doesn't deal with that.
Yeah.
So maybe they surprise people. I like that. Maybe something that I might be interested in getting into. Also on Wednesday is Baba.
Yes.
So I've been talking about Baba here and there, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on Baba and us talk about it a little bit technically.
So I actually just before we went on air, I mentioned that there's a pension fund for Ohio teachers sold what did I say? Netflix,
Bank of America,
and another big one, another well-known one. And they sold not all of it. They sold a good chunk of all three of those to go buy Alibaba. Teachers of Ohio now own Baba if you have a retirement plan with them. So looking at this, there's definitely an interesting dynamic going on with the chart. So it's come down and touched the 50-day moving average and bounced off of that on Friday. So we can zoom in here and check that out. So that happens. So from a technical standpoint, this actually looks like a pretty decent opportunity. From a fundamental standpoint, there's still that obvious risk with the Chinese government, but they've backed off a lot.
Yeah.
It seems as if they kind of like took a huge big sweep over everything from gaming to e-commerce, so everything, and crypto, all of it. And they've been a little quiet. So perhaps, if they can stay away, keep their fingers out of things, then maybe Alibaba actually ends up having a move, especially going into the holiday season.
Yeah. I'm bullish as ever on Baba. I'm just going to say it. I know it's an easy narrative to say, watch out for Chinese government.
Yeah.
But the reality is like Baba had a great run historically. And I think it's only a matter of time before they get back on track. And I don't think this is something it's always something you got to be aware of from a risk perspective. But there's still many companies that have tremendous exposure in China. So if that's your case, then why are you investing in, those companies?
Well, here's the other thing. I mean, obviously it depends on how interested investors are. If investors are worried about, the Chinese government getting involved with Baba, they're not going to want to have their money there. So fair, but the fundamentals of Alibaba haven't changed.
Yeah. Well, they've gotten better.
Yeah, that's one. But that's what I mean. Yeah, they haven't gotten worse. I guess the price doesn't reflect the performance of the actual company itself. So, you can certainly make both of those points and you'd be right.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes, but certainly Wednesday is going to be an interesting day, good day. That's when it gets started. And Thursday is really when we get after it. We have Moderna. We have Penn. Moderna. Moderna is a Spanish word. Yeah. Moderna, Penn, Regeneron, Nikola, pre-market. Those are all pre-market after hours. Some good ones. Square, Pinterest, Uber, Airbnb, Mercado Libre, Peloton, Cloudflare, all good ones. What's standing out to you there?
God, what doesn't stand out to me there? First of all, this might come as a shock to you. Nikola will be reporting 0 vehicles manufactured or sold. But I'm looking at the list here. I actually like Uber. I think Uber could actually do really well this quarter and have a pretty positive outlook, especially with travel demand and all that good stuff.
And the Hertz deal.
Correct. And then Pinterest has obviously been beaten down And I think that could, have been a good opportunity. We've talked about that over the last week and a half, that could be a good one. And then obviously Square's hasn't moved down as much, hasn't corrected as much as PayPal did, obviously, because PayPal was trying to work out that deal with Pinterest, and then that didn't go through. But if we take a look at the chart on Square, it actually looks like it's potentially trying to test above this 260 resistance. And I've kind of been keeping my eye on it over the last couple of weeks. But not only has it been trying to test this resistance, but it's been holding above the 50-day moving average quite well too. So if they come out with some pretty good earnings, which I would imagine they do, and their outlook should be pretty good here too, then watch for this move up above 260. I think we could see a really nice breakout for Square.
Yeah, I think Square should have a good quarter. And these are the type of companies, when you're talking about worried about global supply chain issues, worried about just any sort of, I don't know, like macro factors that are going on with reopening or issues with that. Square's a perfect company to be in as far as that. Yeah. Also, Jack Dorsey clearly is going to continue to move towards crypto. So that's another thing. If you're bullish on crypto and where the world's going, Square is going to be in the center of that opportunity. So definitely a good stock. I wanted to talk.
That being said, as much as I love Square, I did end up buying PayPal calls for January.
Well, yeah, it was a dip.
It's just full disclosure. Even though I like Square, I got PayPal instead.
So I did want to bring up Peloton. Peloton actually set the bar, I think, pretty low this quarter. So last quarter, they did nearly $1 billion. They did $928 million. Sorry, it came in at $937 million and a loss of 56 cents a share. They're expected a loss of $1.16. And they're expecting $800 million of revenue. So they're saying that things are slowing down.
Yeah.
Interested to see what happens in the holiday quarter. Obviously, supply chain is going to be a part of that conversation. But my question to you is, the market overall, when you think about the stay-at-home players from before, especially like Zoom, Peloton. So those were like the big players for stay-at-home.
Right.
They've just been beaten down. And I think they will come back eventually, but the question is, like, when will they come back? Peloton has a couple of things in their pipeline I think gets forgotten, which is the rowing machine, which should be released. It was supposed to be released this year or quarter one of next year. So announcement, and then pre-court exposure into the commercial space as well. What's your overall sentiment towards Peloton and any news around that? Do you think that's what it would take to get this thing moving again?
I actually love Peloton. And I think that you look at the market cap, it's around 27 billion, which isn't really that much.
Mm-hmm.
For an exercise equipment company, that's really what you want to label it as. Sure. Yeah. Some of their other competitors, you look at something like a Planet Fitness, that's far below that. But, the churn rate is still ridiculous with Peloton. You're there and you don't leave. If you're a member of Peloton, then you don't leave. That's just a fact. And so the churn rate to me is really what stands out. The other stuff, sure, that's going to continue to add value, but the fact of the matter is that they continually bring in people, and those people that come in and join the Peloton community just don't leave. So the more things that you bring in, it just gives them more incentive to stay. And obviously the pre-core thing, we've had a lot of people on this channel, kind of rip us a little bit about how people are just going to go back to gyms and that's just going to be that. And if that argument stands, fine. Peloton owns pre-core, which all of Planet Fitness gyms have pre-core equipment, and thousands of other gyms do as well. So I think that Peloton's in actually a really good position, not only just for the people who are working from home and working out from home, but also those who are doing it in public as well.
Yeah. And I think the one thing that I've noticed more as I've gotten more acclimated into Peloton is like my friends, and for me as well, like when I travel, we're starting to look for places that have Pelotons.
Yeah.
And not a lot do. Airbnb, you can search for that type of stuff. But I think that's going to be sort of the rocket fuel for them, is the commercial side and their partnerships with like hotels or chains or whatever. So excited to see where it goes.
We didn't talk about Airbnb anyway, right? Do we?
That's now.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
That's Thursday. That's this earnings as well.
I thought you already said Thursday. Sorry.
No. Yeah. So Peloton should be interesting. I'm excited about Mercado Libre, seeing how that does. But here you go, Airbnb. Thursday for you, it's Penn, Airbnb, and for both of us. I mean, we're both really bullish on it. Airbnb Thursday.
Yes.
What are you thinking? You nervous? You excited? You worried?
I'm actually excited. I mean, the stock from a fundamental standpoint, you look at the market cap, PE, all that stuff, it's overvalued. And every analyst out there will tell you it's overvalued. I think that it is overvalued, but I think it's in the same type of camp as like a Tesla, for example. It's disruptive, it's innovative. More and more people are staying in Airbnbs versus hotels. Also, full disclosure, I ended up buying Marriott calls, but I still also own Airbnb. Yeah. And I think that all of travel is going to do well leading into the end of the year and even the beginning of next year. But Airbnb is something that I plan on holding for a very long time. And I've made myself clear about that for anybody who's been following this channel for some time. But I think this quarter is definitely going to continue to be going to further support a strong travel demand.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this. We think that this could, if you had $50,000 in Airbnb right now, you could be a millionaire in 20 years. And I think that still is a very distinct possibility.
Yeah. So excited about that one as well. Do you think these issues around airlines benefits Airbnb, or is it a non-impact?
I think it's a non-impact, honestly, because it's more than just air travel that benefits Airbnb. I mean, I think
from the sense of like, I know a lot of people are just not dealing with airlines. Like, does it benefit in the, like maybe people just travel more locally?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, actually, yes. I think in that sense, it could, because that's where Airbnb thrives, in my opinion. I think that I'd have to look at the metrics, but I would venture to say that there's probably more people that use Airbnb from a regionalized standpoint than actually, for like international travel or anything outside of maybe a specific radius to their home.
So then Friday, pre-market, we have DraftKings, Coinbase, Canopy Growth Company, among others. I'm excited about Coinbase. I've talked to you guys about how bullish I am on Coinbase, and it gives me a little bit of pause about Robinhood, but the reality is Robinhood, I wanted them to shift and they just didn't shift. There wasn't a move like I thought it would be as far as like people into the other cryptocurrencies. They're also a little bit behind.
Yeah.
And Coinbase is not. So I'm excited about them. What are your thoughts about Friday pre-market? Anyone to stand out?
I think Coinbase is certainly up there for me. It's already made a strong move, which we actually ended up putting out into our watch list for our KS crew members. Check the link in the description below if you guys want to check that out. But this has been something that I think has been brewing for a very long time. The company's still undervalued here, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that this is only the start of the move. And I think that earnings could continue to propel this even higher.
I will be honest. I'm still more bullish on Penn than DraftKings, but I'm actually really intrigued by DraftKings.
Yes.
And I think that like as they get more towards NFTs, as this stuff shakes out, I do think only one can stand between FanDuel and DraftKings. So I think one doesn't make it. I would actually probably put my money on DraftKings to stay around, but we'll see. I just don't, at some point there's got to be consolidation of market.
Yeah.
But for different reasons than Penn, I'm starting to like DraftKings. I'm not in it. I'm not yet. I'm not compelled yet to get in it, but it's certainly one I've been looking into more and I'm intrigued by.
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever actually come out and said that we hated DraftKings. I just think that we've talked about better ones to own than DraftKings, but the company is still going to probably outperform this upcoming earnings. And there's been some sentiment actually around the use of the mobile sports books, being that people aren't as at home like they were this time last year, or even earlier than that, and that perhaps we'll see less involvement in mobile apps. I don't know if I really necessarily buy that, but there's definitely some concern there, especially when it comes to Penn, DraftKings, and some of the other mobile sports books that are out there as well.
All right, stocks not named Penn, Airbnb,
yes,
Square, your number ones. Which earnings are you most excited about this week?
I think one that I think really could stand out and actually does really well after earnings is Roku.
Okay. Cool. So we're going to be live, guys, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Thursday. We'll stay through earnings. We'll give you earnings reactions. So if you haven't been here before for earnings reaction, definitely tune in, hit that like and subscribe and notification bell. We will be live watching the earnings and giving our reactions and our predictions as far as the earnings are concerned. But man, I think we're going to see fireworks. Which stock out of anyone, and it could be one of your favorites, which stocks do you think has the most likelihood to just go wild?
It's got to be Penn. Penn's down 15.5% on the year.
Yeah.
Why? Well, yeah. And this third quarter, they had the score. They did the score acquisition. They also expanded to 3 other states this quarter. And the NFL started. So if it's not this quarter that gets them going, then what quarter is it going to be? Because I don't know what other one it could be.
Yeah.
So it would, and then obviously the reopenings of the regional casinos, the brick and mortar stuff. I think that all plays a factor. But this has got to be the quarter for them.
Yeah, man, I have to agree with you. It's hard to see this thing below 70. It's just hard to see this thing below 70.
Yeah.
There's so much good stuff going on. They do really good earnings. Their CEO does a really good job with his earnings. So man, yeah, I'm in. I'm in for it.
It just makes no sense for it to be down here. It really doesn't.
Well, there you have it, guys. Exciting weekend. We'll be here for it. Hope you guys can join us. I'm all done.
We'll be here tomorrow live at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time to go over tomorrow's earnings and then whatever else pops up in the market that we need to talk about. If you guys want even more of Own the Chaos, make sure you hit the join button next to subscribe. We put out a watch list every single morning before the market opens. We put out 5 stocks that we think might make some moves during that day. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be the ones you need to buy, but certainly worth watching. And we actually do a pretty good job at nailing those. Coinbase is one of our recent ones that actually did extremely well. We called that down pretty close to the bottom. So if you guys want to be a part of that, also help support the channel and everything else you see behind you, hit that join button next to subscribe. It costs $4.99. There's no inflation over here. Okay. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. Hit that like button on your way out the door and we're out of here. Peace.